Hello, welcome to A Few Minutes with Peter. I'm Buddy Pennington, pastor of Westfield Assembly of God in Holmes County, Florida, the host for the study. This is lesson number 3 and part 1. We're beginning the 3rd chapter of 1 Peter in our study. Allow me to read verses 1 through 6 from chapter 3 for you at this time. In the same way, you wives must accept the authority of your husbands. Then, even if some refuse to obey the good news, your godly lives will speak to them without any words. They will be won over by observing your pure and reverent lives. Don't be concerned about the outward beauty of fancy hairstyles, expensive jewelry, or beautiful clothes. You should clothe yourselves instead with the beauty that comes from within, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is so precious to God. This is how the holy women of old made themselves beautiful. They put their trust in God and accepted the authority of their husbands. For instance, Sarah obeyed her husband Abraham and called him her master. You are her daughters when you do what is right without fear of what your husbands might do. In this section of his letter to the followers of Christ, Peter has been talking to them about submitting to authority. First, he discussed the concept of submitting to civil authorities. Then he instructed the slaves to submit to their masters. He then gave the example of how Jesus submitted to the will of the Father in coming to earth to die as a sacrifice for the sins of all of mankind. Now he shifts his attention at the beginning of chapter number 3 to wives. He says to the wives, submit to the authority of your husbands. Then he says to them, but don't worry about what you look like, in other words, your outward appearance. Let your inward life be what they see. He talks about having a gentle spirit. He talks about having a reverent and holy life. And he says to them, even if your husbands do not obey the good news about Jesus Christ, they can be won over by the way you live. In our modern society today, the feminist movement has rejected the concept that a female should be in submission to a male. Allow me to point something out to you, if you will. When God set into motion families, when he established Adam and Eve as a couple and told them to go and multiply and be fruitful, God placed the man as the spiritual overseer of the family. The wife, who is his completer and the one who helps him be all he can be, is under his spiritual umbrella. In writing to the disciples, Peter is trying to get wives to understand there is an authority that God established. And even though modern day feminists say this should not happen, it is still something that is a spiritual principle that endures even to today. The husband should be the head of the household. The wife should be his completer and give him the honor and recognition that he is due as the head of the household. Now, men, in the next video, I'm going to talk to you about submitting and authority. Well, for now, suffice it to say that Peter is saying to the wives, submit to your husband's authority and win him over to God by how you live. And I want to encourage all the wives who may be watching this video, win your husband by how you live. Your example before them of a godly wife is going to make a bigger impact on them than you could ever imagine. I want to encourage you, let your godly life reach out to your family, to your husband first. It's my prayer that these videos will be a blessing to you. Allow me to encourage you to visit our Facebook page, which is Westfield AG at 2513 Cypress Street. May God richly bless you until next time when we get together for a few minutes with Peter.